A single bottle of Topo Chico seemed harmless until toxicologists found PFAS chemicals and bacterial traces linked to chronic illness. Costco's recall of the product was just one among 10 alarming safety alerts in a wave of recent food recalls, revealing a troubling pattern. From chocolates laced with heavy metals to beef sticks hiding metal fragments, the recalls cut across every aisle, challenging assumptions about packaged food safety. If you're tired of being lied to, if you're ready to expose the truth they don't want you to know, then don't just watch. Join this fight. Hit subscribe right now so you never miss the facts the corporations hope you'll ignore. Every new video pulls back the curtain a little more, and together we're building a movement they can't silence. Subscribe, stay informed, and let's take back control, one truth at a time. Vulnerable consumers, especially older adults relying on convenience items, were left exposed to risks they never saw coming, and often only learned of after hospitalizations or news reports. This isn't about one faulty batch, it's a deeper look at a system breaking down. These 10 products, from bottled water and smoked salmon to dairy trays and deli sandwiches, weren't just recalled for minor issues. They were pulled for reasons like listeria outbreaks, plastic shards, toxic chemicals, and unlisted allergens, all symptoms of deeper failures in manufacturing hygiene, oversight, and labeling honesty. This investigation isn't just a warning, it's a breakdown of how cost-cutting regulatory loopholes and deceptive branding have created a dangerous food landscape. And while the recalls were issued, the delays, vague lot codes, and misleading marketing mean many families may still have these products in their homes, unaware of the risk. Costco has just issued a major recall affecting 10 food products, 10 items pulled off shelves not for minor issues, but for serious safety concerns. This isn't just about a bad batch or a routine inspection. These are real risks: contamination, metal fragments, chemicals, and bacteria that can cause lasting harm, and the people most at risk: older Americans, the ones who depend on Costco's bulk options for convenience, affordability, and nutrition, are being sold a lie disguised as trust. The recall spans nearly every aisle: dairy, sandwiches, bottled water, chocolates, meats, and more. Let's break it down, because your health and your family's safety may literally depend on what you do next. Starting with the dairy section. Cheese trays and deli meats, items often brought out for holiday gatherings, family picnics, or simple weeknight meals, have been linked to listeria outbreaks. That's not just a stomach bug. Listeria is a deadly bacterial infection, especially for seniors or people with weakened immune systems. And the contamination, it starts in the factories: unsanitary equipment, unchecked hygiene, facilities running at full speed without proper cleaning protocols. It's a systemic failure, not a one-time mistake, not bad luck, it's negligence. And the negligence doesn't stop there. Costco's ready-to-eat sandwiches and salads, convenience food marketed to busy adults and seniors, are contaminated too. Listeria again, traced back to slicers and food processing equipment that weren't cleaned properly. Think about it. These products are labeled ready to eat. No one's cooking them again. No one's heating anything. And the people most drawn to that level of convenience: elderly folks, people with disabilities, people living alone who rely on that label, safe to eat, as a guarantee. What they get instead is a trip to the ER, or worse. Then there's the bottled water, a basic item, a daily necessity. But even that is compromised. Specific brands sold through Costco, like Topo Chico, have tested positive for PFAS. These are forever chemicals that never break down in the body. Add to that bacteria like Pseudomonas aeruginosa, which thrives in unsanitary conditions, and you've got water that's less about hydration and more about long-term damage to your organs. PFAS are linked to cancer, hormone disruption, and immune issues. Yet the bottled water industry continues to hide behind glossy labels and vague promises of purity. Let's talk about the chocolates. A luxury item for some, a comforting staple for others. These were supposed to be indulgent, giftable, and safe, but they're not. Gluten was mislabeled, heavy metals were found. All of this in high-end chocolate, sold as a premium product. Mislabeled allergens can cause violent reactions. Heavy metals cause neurological issues and organ damage when consumed long-term. And yet, they were marketed with shiny packaging, targeting people who trust Costco to vet the products on its shelves. The smoked salmon, listeria contamination again, a recurring villain in this story. And it's not surprising. Smoked salmon is often made in facilities that handle large quantities with tight deadlines and poor oversight. One misstep in temperature control or cleaning, and contamination spreads fast. And again, older adults are at the highest risk. Salmon is marketed as a healthy option, high in omega-3s, easy to prepare, but when the source is compromised, that healthy option becomes a hidden hazard, and meat products, beef and turkey sticks, like chomps, packaged as protein-rich snacks, often labeled clean or natural, but they've been recalled because they contain metal fragments. That's not an exaggeration. Fragments of metal, likely from broken machinery or unmaintained production lines, have ended up inside products that people put directly into their mouths. These are snacks children eat. These are snacks marketed to health-conscious people, yet they're filled with stealth hazards that could break a tooth, or worse, end up in someone's digestive tract. Colby Jack cheese slices weren't spared either. Plastic fragments were found embedded in the product. Plastic, from deteriorating machinery, made its way into food. And once again, the problem is systemic. These factories are not monitored properly. Equipment ages, breaks down, and the solution isn't to stop production, it's to keep going. Profits over safety, speed over precision, plastic in your food, and no one's being held accountable. This isn't about isolated incidents. This is about a broken system. Manufacturing flaws and corporate negligence are not new, but what Costco's recent recalls highlight is the scale, the common thread: poor sanitation, outdated machinery, contaminated water, and misleading product labels. And while these problems can affect anyone, they're especially dangerous for older Americans. Seniors often depend on prepackaged foods. They trust labels that say safe or natural, but when that trust is betrayed, it's not just a bad experience, it's a threat to their lives. You'd think after multiple recalls, these companies would learn, but the real problem is lack of transparency. Many of these products had vague or missing lot codes. That means people who bought the affected items may have no way of knowing they're at risk. They check the label, nothing's flagged, they eat it, and then they end up in the hospital wondering what went wrong. It's not just about what's in the product, it's how it's marketed. These recalled items weren't the discount bin stuff. They were pitched as premium, healthy, trustworthy. Chocolates marketed as pure indulgence, sandwiches labeled clean label, bottled water that sells the idea of mountain spring freshness. It's manipulation, it's targeted, and it's effective, especially for seniors who often choose foods based on trust and familiarity. These marketing tactics are designed to exploit that trust while hiding the real risks. And don't forget the global side of the issue. These food recalls aren't just about factory cleanliness in the US. They also expose ethical failures across the global supply chain. Some of the chocolates, for instance, come from regions in West Africa where exploitative labor practices are still rampant. So even before they're filled with allergens or heavy metals, they're already tainted by human rights violations and environmental abuses. It's a food safety crisis and a moral failure all at once. So what can you do? Start by demanding better. Don't let convenience blind you to safety. Check lot numbers. Check recall lists. Avoid products that don't clearly label their sourcing or processing methods. And when you can, opt for safer alternatives. Shelf-stable canned fish over smoked salmon. Whole cheese blocks instead of pre-sliced packs. Make your sandwiches at home. Yes, it takes time, but it takes a lot less time than recovering from food poisoning. And don't buy into the lie that bottled water is always safer. Tap water, filtered at home, is often more tightly regulated than what's sold in a plastic bottle, especially when those bottles are laced with PFAS and bacteria. We need better regulation, not just more rules, but rules that are enforced. Regular inspections, mandatory transparency, and real accountability when companies cut corners to protect profits. Because right now, recalls are treated as damage control, a temporary PR problem, a bump in quarterly earnings. But for the people affected, it's a medical crisis, a financial burden, a betrayal. Let's be real, Costco isn't alone in this. But the scale of their recalls, the range of affected products, and the demographic most at risk makes this an emergency worth shouting about. They owe their customers more than half-hearted press releases and refund policies. They owe them food that's safe, systems that work, and labels that tell the truth. And consumers, we can't afford to be passive. We have to be loud. Share this information. Call your representatives. Demand that the FDA and USDA do more than slap a recall on a website that no one reads. Demand transparency from food manufacturers. Hold Costco and other retailers accountable for what they sell, because this isn't just about food. It's about trust. It's about safety. And it's about the lives of people who did nothing wrong except believe the label on the box. If you care about food safety, about your family, about protecting vulnerable people from being poisoned by negligence, then speak up. And if you found this video helpful, do something with it. Like it, share it, drop a comment below. Tell us if you've been affected by any of these recalls. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss critical updates like this. We need each other to stay informed, because clearly, the food industry isn't going to warn us in time. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and keep watching. There's a quiet crisis unfolding in America's kitchens, and it's being delivered straight from warehouse shelves under the illusion of convenience and trust. Costco's recent recall of 10 food products isn't just a wake-up call, it's a blaring alarm that every consumer needs to hear. What we're witnessing isn't just isolated contamination, it's a breakdown of the system that's supposed to protect the public. Let's talk about how deep this failure really goes. At the center of this storm are vulnerable populations, especially older adults. Seniors on fixed incomes often rely on Costco's bulk deals. They stock up on bottled water, ready-to-eat meals, deli meats, cheese trays, protein snacks, all marketed as safe, easy options for people who may not cook every day. But what they're being sold is poison, dressed up in bulk packaging and value labels. These aren't just faulty products, they're traps. Costco isn't doing this alone, but they are the face of it. Their scale means when something goes wrong, it affects millions. When a contaminated product hits their shelves, it doesn't stay in one city or one store. It spreads nationally, sometimes globally. The risk multiplies, and the damage becomes incalculable. And the corporate response: silence, deflection, or vague apologies buried deep in their website. There's no urgency, no widespread public campaign to warn consumers, no direct outreach to those who need it most. Seniors who don't use apps, who don't check product codes online, who trust that if it's still on the shelf, it must be safe. But that's not the reality. Let's go back to those metal fragments found in beef and turkey sticks. This isn't fiction. It's not fear-mongering. It's metal, actual shards, ending up in food. Not once, not twice. This happens again and again across various products and brands. Why? Because aging machinery isn't replaced. Because maintenance is skipped to meet deadlines. Because inspections are rushed or faked. And the consequence: emergency surgeries, dental trauma, internal bleeding. These are real outcomes, all from a protein snack that claims to be clean, natural, or safe for kids. How about the cheese slices with plastic fragments? You'd think by now, with all the technology and food safety protocols available, this wouldn't happen, but it does, over and over again. And it's not just about swallowing plastic, it's what that plastic represents. It shows how little oversight exists. It shows that food production is being run like a profit machine, not a safety-first operation. Listeria contamination, that's practically becoming routine in processed meats and deli items. And why? Because cleaning protocols are ignored, because food slicers are rarely sanitized as often as required, because there's no one holding these companies accountable until after people get sick. Only then do they issue recalls. Only then do they backpedal and say we care. Let's be clear, listeria is deadly, especially for the elderly, pregnant women, and people with compromised immune systems. This isn't just a foodborne bug that causes a few stomach cramps. We're talking about a pathogen that kills, that causes meningitis, that can lead to lifelong complications. Yet here it is, lurking in your sandwiches and cheese trays, sitting silently in your refrigerator until it's too too late. And let's not forget the bottled water issue. People buy bottled water because they think it's safer, cleaner, healthier. But brands like Topo Chico, sold widely at Costco, have tested positive for PFAS, which don't break down in the environment or the human body. These chemicals accumulate over time, triggering everything from liver disease to thyroid issues and even cancer. Add bacterial contaminants to the mix, and now we're dealing with a cocktail of chronic illness, not hydration. And here's the kicker: the industry knows these contaminants are not new discoveries, but instead of warning the public, they invest in marketing. They change the bottle design. They slap eco-friendly or pure on the label. They don't fix the problem. They polish the package. The same deception is happening with chocolates, recalled for mislabeling gluten and for heavy metal contamination. Let's pause on that. Heavy metals in chocolate, something many people eat daily, something parents give to kids, something that's marketed as a premium, safe indulgence. But these chocolates contained unsafe levels of lead and cadmium, substances that build up in the body over time, impairing neurological development in children and damaging internal organs in adults. You don't just flush out heavy metals, they stay with you, they harm you, and companies know it. But as long as the packaging looks elegant and the sales figures rise, the damage is buried until the lawsuits come rolling in or someone dies. And now we zoom out and look at the bigger picture. This isn't just about 10 products, it's about a system that's failing from the inside. Poorly sanitized factories, deteriorating equipment, hidden ingredients, undisclosed allergens, vague recall notices, lot codes so faint you can't even read them. All of it points to a corporate structure that prioritizes the bottom line over your health. And the government oversight, toothless, underfunded, overburdened, and routinely undermined by corporate lobbying. Inspections don't catch the problems in time. Regulations are full of loopholes and penalties for violating food safety laws. A drop in the bucket for billion-dollar companies. So nothing changes because it's cheaper to settle lawsuits than to fix the problem. But the damage is real, especially to people living alone, to seniors, to low-income families who don't have the luxury of tossing out food on a maybe, people who can't afford to double-check everything, who trust that if it's on Costco's shelves, it passed some kind of test. But the truth, that trust is being abused. We're being gaslit by grocery stores and manufacturers who pretend that recalls are rare, isolated, accidental. They're not. They're the visible tip of a massive festering problem that lives in the shadows of the food supply chain. And until there's a public reckoning, until consumers push back hard, it will keep happening. That means refusing to stay silent, refusing to accept vague apologies and corporate spin. It means sharing this information, warning others, and demanding action. It means checking everything. Yes, even the things you've bought 100 times before, because the system isn't watching out for you. You have to watch out for yourself. So next time you're in Costco, look closer. That smoked salmon that looks perfectly sealed, it might be carrying listeria. That cheese tray in the deli section, it might have come from a facility with a sanitation score no one wants to admit. That protein snack your kid loves, check the code, check the recall. Don't trust the packaging. This isn't paranoia, it's self-defense, and it's necessary, because food safety in this country is running on borrowed time, and no one is coming to fix it unless we force them to. We can't afford to treat food recalls like background noise, not when the risks are this high, not when lives are on the line, because the truth is, every one of these contaminated products, every chunk of plastic in your cheese, every speck of metal in your meat stick, every invisible bacteria riding along in your smoked salmon, is a direct result of a system that's allowed to cut corners, to put profits above people. And if we don't start holding these corporations accountable, the message is clear: they can get away with it again and again. They'll keep using broken machines, they'll keep ignoring cleaning protocols, they'll keep masking toxins with fancy branding, and hiding recalls behind small print press releases, because as long as consumers keep buying, they keep winning. But not here, not now, because you're smarter than that. You're not just going to roll the dice every time you open your fridge. You're not going to let them gamble gamble with your family's health. You're going to speak up. You're going to push back. You're going to demand transparency, accountability, and real reform, not just for yourself, but for every person who can't fight this battle alone. So don't let this end with one video. Share it, comment below, let them know we're watching, hit that subscribe button, and stay loud, because food should nourish us, not poison us, and until it's safe for everyone, we won't stop.